Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Renegade Report. I'm your host, Francis Mayer, and today we've been handling business on the Renegade Report. Now, we've got a lot of athletes on the BC campus who play games. They play basketball, they play football, but then we also have a group of athletes who are cut from a little bit of a different cloth. They do things, and Mr. Timmermans, you are no exception. You are a cross-country runner. You don't play cross-country because I don't know that it's very fun.
Well,
there aren't like recreational cross-country runners. Hey, why don't we go run over the hills for a little while?
Yeah, about as recreational as it gets are the fun runs like 5Ks and 10Ks. That's about as recreational as it gets, But I mean, it's all for a good cause anyway. But
Yeah, but the actual running of cross-country it's grueling. It's a very difficult sport.
It really is, yeah, and it takes a toll on your body after a while, especially at this point in the season. Your body begins to you start losing weight, and then your body begins to kind of get a little weak. But you gotta stick it out for the next race, and that's where mentally strong comes in. You know what I mean?
So. Oh no, it absolutely does. And you were dealing with some illness recently, was my understanding, right?
Yeah, I came down with something real quick, and it was for a fairly short period of time here last week. I didn't have such a great race, but then earlier this week, in fact, yesterday or the day before, I started coming down with something, and it's like, man, I'm not going to have this. So I just stayed on top of it, had to skip practice one day, started getting sick, and I went for a run yesterday, and I think I'm all tuned up again, so I think everything's good now.
But you and your teammate, you are Ferraris. I mean, you are supercars, and when there is a small injury, whether it's a really bad blister, for example, or for you it was like 10% of a flu, that is a lot off the top for you.
No, it really is. Yeah, if you're not performing top end, you can't expect anything much
top
better
end
than
results.
Yeah, exactly. You can't really expect a whole lot, so you got to be on your game 100% of the time, because you got to stay with practice, and especially the races where it's obviously more important. But I mean, you got to fight through it sometimes, and sometimes your body's just got to take a break, and you need to get a step back and start from square one, so to speak, and then just kind of work your way back up. And that's kind of what I've been doing all week. And I think yesterday's run, it really helped me. So I think I'm more than ready for state. I'm pretty stoked about it.
And that's the big news, actually. Both the men's and women's teams. And this is not to cast aspersions against your teammates at all, but there was some confidence that you were going to qualify as an individual. But the jury was out on whether or not the team would qualify. What goes into that, Richard?
Well, luckily, the team, came through. And as my coach always says, your team's only good as your number 5 runner, And luckily the team...
Explain that to us.
So, there's 7 people in a big race like this, and they only take the top 7 scoring. But usually it's up to the first 5 that usually determine the actual scoring, and then the 6 and 7 are kind of tiebreakers. And so, I had a really bad race. I ended up finishing 4th for the team, but the other guys, number 1, 2, 3, and 4, and 5, or 2, 3, 4, and 5, had a really good race. And so they brought up, the points, and, they really helped us out a lot. And that's what determined whether we went to state or not. And I couldn't thank them enough because I thought my season was over after that.
Wow, that had to be devastating.
It really was, and
because you worked your butt off. I'm gonna show
season.
off for you. You've been everywhere, and their workouts are like this. When you see the cross country runners leave to go on a training run, and then you see their coach get in a car to follow them, that's what they're up to. They're not on. They're running all over town. They're picking landmarks out yonder way, and it's run to there and come on back. That's practice. And she says it in a John Wayne voice too. But you, hey pilgrim, get to running, you sad sack of molasses. And you're out there. It doesn't matter what the weather is. It didn't matter that you had the flu. You're out there training, and I'm glad to hear you took a day of rest. But you're saying that like that was a huge deal.
Oh, it was a big deal because I haven't missed a day of practice all season, and I try to keep that, not because of it's just a personal thing of mine. It's just it's a head thing. You know what I mean?
It is a head thing because when you miss one practice, it's easy to miss another one.
Exactly, and you kind of start losing ambition. But with the way my head's been, I didn't lose any steam, and I kind of kept at it. I was almost just as upset when I missed a day of practice as I was for not almost qualifying to state. Just kind of shows you, but for whatever reason, I got over it.
Did you know you were sick during the race?
No, I didn't. I wasn't. I was a little sick, prior to actually, and then.
Did you just not feel sharp?
I didn't feel 100% at all. Okay. And then I got into the race, up to the second mile, I was doing great. And it's like, all right, here's where the race starts.
Did you kind of think that you were going to get the endorphins going and, there it is?
Yeah, because that's how much it usually takes. The first mile, run conservative, and then go from there. But the second mile hit, and it's like, okay, what's up with my legs? And then my feet both fell asleep. That numb feeling you get in your feet.
No.
They both fell asleep, and then of all things, because I can't feel my feet, I trip and fall.
Oh,
and
no.
so I trip and fall, and it's like, okay, I got to get back up. I ain't staying down here as comfortable as it is. So I got back up, and I kept running, and then after my feet, my calves went to sleep, and it's like, well, I can't feel my legs at all now, and it just slowly got worse, and up this little lousy hill, I started going up it. I was at a slow, and I was like, man, I got to finish this race, because I was this close of just collapsing. That's how bad it was as far as my legs. And then I started feeling sick on top of that, and so I managed to finish the race, and luckily my teammates were there to cheer me on, and that, it really pumps you up. So
it does. Tori was just saying that about getting people out to attend the wrestling tournament, but it is so true. I don't care if it's corny. You hear people cheering for your school, your brand. Oh.
School, and especially your name alone, I mean, it's just a great feeling, and you just get this energy, and it's just like, all right, let's go, let's do it, So, and luckily I finished the race, almost a better time than what I did a few months back on that same course. But I mean, granted, I was supposed to finish much farther up, but hey, a bad race happens to everyone. It always happens. So, just got to get over it and move on to the next one, keep at it.
Yeah, and it's like, really, what could you have done? I mean, as we said before, you're a Ferrari. You can't afford to run cheap fuel.
No.
I mean, nor do you want to be at 10%. That was the difference. Because at the level that you're competing at, really 10% is the difference between first place and last place almost, right?
Yeah, none of these guys slack off at all. I mean, it's much different.
Yeah, they didn't feel bad for you.
No, they wouldn't. No, and not to mention they're in better shape than what they were the last race,
Sure.
And, so they're just going to continue getting better and better. And so if you're 10% behind, not only are they better, but you're behind now from what you were before. And, so it's just that much more difficult to keep going.
I feel like there's a little Richard, a mini you, that rides the big you with a whip, and he never leaves you alone. This fool. What class are you missing right now?
I'm missing calculus right now.
Calculus.
Yeah.
Right. That's a real athlete class. Richard, what is after sports for you? You're a bright young man. You're a hard worker. What's next?
Well, after this season, I'm going to go to work. I'm going to go to work at my job, San Joaquin Refining, and I got to get money, keep that thing rolling. As far as after college is concerned, right?
Yeah.
And as far as after this...
The next step.
Yeah. Okay. As far as after that, Pomona sent me a letter a while back asking me to attend their school for track and whatnot. And so that got me really hyped up. And so I'm trying to get get a scholarship maybe, and then go to Pomona from there, and keep running, obviously, and then keep doing my thing, what I'm doing, going to school and working. I got to do my thing. So.
Yeah, but I mean, that would be pretty awesome to get a scholarship, because I'm going to sell my home someday to send my children to school. So
that's really cool.
Well, I hope they don't waste my time. Okay, it's pick a major and stick to it is what we're going to tell them. And that's it. I had a buddy whose kid went to USC, and it took him like 6 years to get his bachelor's degree because he changed majors like 4 times. And he told me one day, he was like, "See this tie? I'm going to die in it. I'm going to be paying USC until like the year 2041." So college is not cheap, but what you athletes do is you position yourselves to maybe not pay for all of it, and that's absolutely outstanding.
Yeah.
You've had a good season. We're proud of you. I wish you all the best at the state meet. When does that happen?
I believe it's on the 21st of November. We leave Friday evening, and it's on a Saturday. And I believe we race sometime at about 9 a.m. or something. That's when the races start. I think the women go first, and then
so
10 a.m.
Do you eat like crazy the night before? Do you carb load? Like, how does that work?
I do, actually. Yeah, I tend to, as far as carb loading, and get loads of protein, because I used to make the mistake of just carb loading, but getting nothing of any sustenance other than carbs, so because otherwise the next day you're just tired and hungry. So, I do eat like crazy pretty much, but nothing too fatty, but a lot of protein and, lean meat and noodles. That's my go.
Do people ever bonk in cross country?
Bonk?
Yeah, have you seen this? It's like it happens to triathletes sometimes, where they don't have enough blood sugar, and their body just kind of locks up and they eat it. They fall on the ground. And you have to get a massage and IV fluids. You've literally emptied the gas tank.
Yeah, that happens after a race, and that's how every race has been for me this whole season. It's like I go so hard to the point to where sometimes I can't feel my legs, but unfortunately it happened earlier than not. So it just you just collapse at the finish line. It's just like you're done.
There's a pop song. I can't feel my face. That's what I'm thinking of right now. Richard can't feel his legs when he's running. Good Lord.
Oh,
well,
man.
listen, we wish you the best of luck. I know that you're going to do awesome things and you're going to come back and be a good alumni. So thank you for all that you've done and really best wishes at the state tournament. We're going to take a quick break, check in with some sponsors, and then we're going to chat with Richard's teammate, somebody else who's going to be competing with the BC Colors at the state cross country meet. That's coming up next on the Renegade Report.